Here's the feedback for Ethan Fee for the advanced 3D animation module rather. Okay, Ethan, I've had a good look through this, but let's go through it together and we'll give you a bit of critique. Okay, so good audio choice. It's a good one. It's very descriptive, so there's lots of visuals that you can work with in that. So a nice one. I'm picking a good one, let's say. So the first thing that strikes me is that the camera work is a little all over the place. One of the key things to remember when you're working with a virtual camera is that you need to treat it like a real camera. So if you had a real camera, you'd want to point it in the right direction. You want to keep things, in frame. Where often here we get the camera which wanders off over here, and it's kind of consistently moving. Never really stops. Now, sometimes you just want to kind of hold on to something, or frame something, or maybe even just move the camera to a position, stop it, and then the action happens in front of it. Good example of that would be when we get down towards the end here. The camera's moving, and then the book falls down. I probably would have had that in position, the camera, then have the book fall down into shot. So be careful with your camera action, because it's as important as any other part of your animation sequence.
Well, it's a whole area of endeavour that I admire enormously. So I'm going to have all the.
Yeah. So what I would have recommended is that you start the object animation sooner. So we're already 8 seconds into an 11-second sequence. Oh, right, not 11 seconds, sorry, a 19-second sequence. So we're already 8 seconds in, and there's not a massive amount happened. The brush is lifted up. So I probably would have got in there sooner. I know that the audio is building up to things, but then let the visuals build up to it. Showcase what we're going to see, or frame it so something's about to happen into shot. That will help because it means that we're looking in the right direction. But it also just tidies up your camera movement, which is what we've already spoken about. So get things in shot and then have the action take place in that frame. So with this here, be careful about the positioning of objects, because I can see that brush is intersecting the table. It just reduces the believability of the sequence. Again, it's dropped down, which is fine. That's anticipation, but not through the table. That doesn't really work. You've got some good creative solutions to some problems. These elements here. Got a good kind of technically speaking, a good means of getting those to come out. Would they stick out like that? Would they fall off the table? How would they work? Maybe look, technically speaking, yes, it's correct, but creatively, perhaps you could have done a little bit more with those. That works quite nicely. The bottle that falls off the top, I'm guessing that's either the linseed or the terps. The fact that it kind of drops and then has like a little bounce on the tabletop is quite nice. But again, just consider some of the nuances of detail. Like here, it's fallen through the table. You can see it there, it's falling through. Maybe have it leap off. Maybe it just jumps off. Or it's right on the edge, teeters on the edge, and then rolls over the edge or something. But for it to fall through, again, it's shattering the illusion of that being a solid shelf there. And it looks there that with your brush, you've got a little bit of squash, which is good. So the fact that you've thought about kind of scaling that down to give it a little bit of squash, add some character to it. Again, one of the draw principles, the appeal principle. Very good. And the book falls down. Again, consider the action of that. It would be nice to see that framed a little better so we can see the book animation a little neater, let's say, because you've got that nice rotation of the book, but we don't really get to see it in full. The book's already in shot before we kind of notice what it is. So maybe pull back a little bit, show the book falling, and then go to a close-up. Something like that might work. The other thing I would say is with the audio, try and make it so that we have everything appears maybe at the right time, or it's framed at the right point in time in terms of the audio.
So I'm going to have all the time in the world.
See, all that seems to work pretty well, but the book at the end, it doesn't really sync properly. Instruction manual, maybe that's when it enters scene. And possibly an instruction manual wallop straight in like that. There's a little bit too much of a pause there. But that said, there's quite a lot of stuff in here. You know, there's certainly a lot of building and texturing of things. I think some of it's a little bit sort of rudimentary, quite simplistic, which can be the style you're going for, of course, but I think you could have probably pushed it a little bit more in terms of the modelling. And also the texturing. There's no real texture to this table, it's just a flat colour. You could have had like a wooden type texture, maybe on there for a wooden table perhaps. The other thing as well, particularly with animation, is you need to get the lighting right. The lighting of this is very uniform across everything. And the biggest miss really is the fact that there's no contact shadow for any of the objects. So when we get things which are falling down, good example would be the little bottle there. As it falls, I'd expect to see the shadow coming into play there. It's what we call a contact shadow. It just means then that we get a little bit more solidity to the objects. I know the true position of the object. It's very clear to me. Currently, it's not always the case without the shadows in there. Okay, so overall it's pretty decent. There's some reasonably good animation stuff in there. I like the characterization of the brush. I like the falling of things. A little bit too much intersection of the table and the shelf and things like that to keep it kind of realistic. I would like to have seen you push some of the texturing of the objects a little more, but generally speaking, it's pretty good.